Welcome into Hockey Sense, everybody. Brought to you by First Community, and great to have you with us once again. We hope to talk some goaltending on this particular episode. We've had some scheduling conflicts, just trying to find a way to squeeze into the studio at the same time when our guest would be available. So if we can get to Corey Snyder and make that work, we're going to have him on the show. If not, then we'll push him back to maybe next week. Either way, we're going to have a good show for you. Jamal Mayers will be in studio, so lots to get into with him. First Community. Brings us a Little Blues program, which we absolutely love. Nothing better than the Little Blues. You want to get your son or daughter signed up and introduce them to the game of ice hockey. No better way to do that than with Little Blues. It's how I got my son started, how so many of his teammates also got introduced to the game. And you should do the same with Little Blues. If you're ages 4 through 9, no previous organized hockey experience, and you qualify. Here's the best part about it, because for a small fee, yeah, you get the great coaching. You get, I think, 6 or 7 practices with some great instruction, and they're going to have a lot of fun. But all the equipment comes with it. You don't have to go out to the hockey shop. You don't have to buy skates. You don't have to buy a helmet. You don't have to buy gloves. You don't have to buy anything, including a stick. But yeah, I said the skates. The skates come with it as well. It's a no-brainer. So do it today with First Community. I want to talk about the foreign currency, though, with First Community, because I find this very interesting because a lot of people are traveling to Europe. People travel in the fall. I know a lot of people whose kids are studying abroad and they're going to go travel abroad. So lots of people. And recent polling even proves it. It shows Americans remain committed to travel. So 3/4 planning trips this year despite economic uncertainty. You may have some economic uncertain times, but it's not stopping people from getting out there and traveling. And you shouldn't, man. Go out and see the world and experience different things in different cultures. So if you're one of those people planning to travel abroad, you're going to need some cash, and that's where First Community comes in. They offer foreign currency, which many people don't even know that they do that. And some of you are listening or watching right now, and you're saying, hey, you're constantly talking about First Community, and they just do so many different things. It truly is unbelievable. What don't they do? So you can get the they offer foreign currency exchange at all of their community branch locations other than the Walmart location. So don't go to the Walmart location and expecting to get some foreign currency. It's not going to happen. But if you come in one day and for a small fee, order your currency, and then you can come back in a few days to pick it up. So it's pretty simple. And the service is exclusively for their members. So become a member today. However, as long as you qualify, you can be a member just by simply opening an account. That's how you become a member. It's pretty sweet. So for a list of those branches, go online, check out firstcommunity.com and do that today. You see Blue Note Roofing over my shoulders, 314-920-5713. Call David Novak today. Let him come out and give you that free estimate. We're getting closer and closer to training camp. I just had Dylan Holloway on the Cam and Strick podcast. Cam and I did. Great conversation. I think people really enjoyed it. If you haven't had a chance to listen to that, go ahead and do so. I'm always curious how many of our viewers who watch the show on YouTube also watch the Cam and Strick podcast. Like, would it ever make sense to replay some of that conversation with Dylan Holloway that Cam and I did just a few days ago and re-air it here on Hockey Sense? I mean, should I assume that all of you who are watching Hockey Sense are also watching the Cam and Strick podcast, or is that not the case? Are there some of you that are out there that exclusively only watch Hockey Sense but don't necessarily watch the Cam and Strick podcast or listen to the Cam and Strick podcast, but you like listening or watching to Hockey Sense? Let me know in the comments below, or shoot me a message on Instagram or Twitter or wherever, and just so I know, because if there's a lot of you who don't watch the Cam and Strick podcast, I could easily re-air a good portion of the Dylan Holloway interview or any other Blues player, for example, or any other NHL legend for that matter, and do it here on Hockey Sense as well. But Dylan Holloway, the good news is that he is fully recovered from his surgery. And it sounded nasty. I mean, just completely his oblique completely tore off of the bone. I mean, just a nasty, nasty injury. And if you saw the highlight, you would say, wow, how could that happen from that particular play? And I think that's where Dylan Holloway is a little bit dumbfounded as well. Not exactly sure. but it happened. And he thought maybe if the team could go on a run in the Stanley Cup playoffs. Now, this is him talking. It's not Doug Armstrong talking. It's not anybody affiliated with the medical team speaking about this injury, but this is, of course, the player saying it that, hey, listen, if they could have gone on a long run and maybe even reached the Stanley Cup final, then who knows? Maybe I could have come back. But he says he's been 100% for 3 months. Very painful injury. And he talked about how much pain he was in after he had the surgery. I heard the same thing about Matthew Tkachuk after he had his surgery recently, who plays with the Florida Panthers, that he was just in a ton of pain. And yeah, these guys have surgery, then they miss a lot of time. But I think Florida Panther fans, and I don't know if it's exactly the same surgery, but you should feel somewhat confident knowing that it didn't take long for Dylan Holloway to get back to 100%. So he's ready to go when training camp opens up, and he'll be in town here very, very soon. A lot of guys are starting to trickle in town. We've got a great interview coming up with Milan Lucic coming up next on the Cam and Strick podcast. We just had him in studio, so look forward to that, and we'll get into that here next week. But again, maybe I'll air a portion of that here on this show if you don't watch the Cam and Strick podcast. You got to let me know who's watching it. I want to know. The Blues prospect camp gets going here next week, and they're going to have a couple of practices here in St. Louis before they take off to Minnesota. I love this tournament, and I know a lot of people probably don't, but yeah, it kind of kicks off the hockey season because it takes place right before main camp for the Blues, and they get right into the preseason and all of that. But the Blues are taking a good team this year too. When you look at who's headed up to Minnesota representing the St. Louis Blues. I mean, how many first-round picks? Otto Stenberg's a first-round pick. Zach Dean's a first-round pick. Not of the Blues or the Vegas Golden Knights, but he was drafted in the first round. Dalibor Dvorsky, first-round pick. Justin Carbonneau, first-round pick. Adam Urasek, first-round pick. Theo Lindstein, first-round pick. A lot of first-round picks. And then you've got second-round picks in Lucas Fisher. Dylan Peterson is a guy who's going to get a lot of attention. People are watching him. Wasn't, drafted in the first or second round, but certainly a guy who's got some ability. Alex Santeri, Kazamaki. I mean, put this guy on your radar. This is going to be interesting to see how he performs. And then, you get a chance to see the Stancils and the Pekarsiks. Those guys who obviously, created a lot of headlines and drew a lot of attention from the World Juniors the last couple of years. So Will McIsaac plays in the dub, in the WHL, scores goals, undersized. He's light, but he's shifty. Quentin Burns brings that toughness. We talked to Steve Konowalchuk, the head coach down in the American Hockey League, just about his character that he brings to the table. So looking forward to this. Urasek obviously is going to be front and center as well as some of the other guys. We've seen Dvorsky now have a full year of professional hockey. I wouldn't read too much to his performance in this particular tournament, although you want to see him stand out. I think that's what it comes down to. Is he standing out? Is he showing a separation between the rest of the prospects? He should be further ahead of most players that he's going to face. But Adam Urasek, he's dealt with some injuries too. I think he had a head injury. He's dealt with a number of different things. But he's healthy now, and I think it's time to see this guy flip the switch and turn it on. And I really, honestly, if you truly give an accurate evaluation to who he is and his game, then you would have saw a real positive performance last year at the World Juniors representing his native Czech Republic, Czechia. I mean, the gap that he plays with, the composure, the poise that he plays with, he can move the puck. He's not going to flash offensively. He's not one of those guys. I think he can contribute in the offensive end of the ice, but yeah, he's not a Quinn Hughes. He's not a Lane Hudson. He's not one of these guys that's just going to pop every time they show up or appear on the screen. But what he is going to do is make the right play and play with a high level of intelligence. And he's going to have an opportunity to play a long time in the NHL. But we want to see it now. You want to see that consistency. You want to see him bring it in this tournament, have a great tournament, and then bring that confidence to main camp. And let's start to see it now in some of these preseason games. And I think give Blues fans and more importantly the organization a true glimpse of what they have as a right shot defenseman. This guy can play, and there's a reason why he was taken as high as he was. And people were screaming and clamoring for the Blues to take um, other players that were on the board, other defensemen specifically. And they didn't trade up to get a guy like Zeev Bulliam who went to Minnesota. They didn't listen, they like this kid. So that's where we're at right now with Adam Jirasek, man. I want to see a good performance from him. I think a lot of people do as well. Lucas Fisher is a guy who, played a couple games down in the American League last year. He, towards the end of the year, second round pick. People really rave about him inside the organization. I don't think Blues fans talk about him enough or know what they have in him. So this is another opportunity for some of these guys to play with some confidence. Last year, it's hard. You come in your first year, and you're going to have some nerves. You're going to play with some nervousness, and that's understandable. You want to see that kind of go away now in year 2 or even in year 3 for some of these guys here in a prospect camp or coming in a development camp environment. So that's what we're looking at. Stenberg, we know that he's got legit ability. Same with Stancil and Bakarczyk and Yeko. Jekko, whatever you want to call it. I call him Yeko. Dvorsky, all these guys, man. This is the best collection of talent the Blues have sent in a while. I remember the best team they sent to a prospect camp. This was back when it was at Traverse City. And by the way, let me just say this. Just because you have a lot of first-round picks does not automatically mean that you're going to win the showcase or whatever, or win the tournament. Like, it doesn't always work that way. The Blues used to win this tournament in Traverse City almost routinely without really any high-end NHL prospects. They had a bunch of older prospects. So, again, they were bigger, older, stronger, and they were able to walk away with some hardware. But then they would go in there with all these high-end prospects and not necessarily have a strong performance. So, read into that however you will. You just want to see individuals play well. But a few years back, remember they had Tage Thompson and Jake Wallman and Robert Thomas and Jordan Kyrou. Had a bunch of guys on that team. Just spectacular. And they had a couple of games where they really did turn it on. They had a couple of games early on in the tournament where they weren't as strong. And I know some people were critical, expecting them just to come in and light it up. But the other teams will have some good rosters as well. So again, can't wait for this to get going. And I think they start next Friday. So on next week's show, we'll obviously prepare you for the first game in the showcase. They call it a tournament. They call it a showcase. What is it? Yeah, it's a showcase. It makes sense. It's a showcase. Speaking of Lane Hudson, remember I just said his name? I said on the Chemistry podcast this past week that, because he didn't get invited to the orientation camp, and, people are like, this is just crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And yeah, on the surface it is. I mean, is USA Hockey that arrogant where we're that good now, where the reigning Calder Trophy winner as Rookie of the Year can't get invited to the orientation camp? And I'm not saying he's going to make the team. I mean, you look at the team, he's got a long shot to make the team unless we see some injuries, and then maybe that would open the door for him. But I thought maybe he could have gotten invited to the camp. So I do my own reporting. I start making some phone calls, and I find out that his dad apparently is a problem. And I say as much on the Cam and Strick podcast, that his dad is a problem. And sure enough, man, I mean, this guy comes out, and now he's like basically threatening to have his kids participate with Canada, become I guess they're part Canadian. They're not just American. Although I don't know what the rule is, man. I guess I thought it was once you participate in a international tournament, you're kind of stuck with that specific federation. So he played the World Juniors for Team USA. Is he even eligible to play for Canada? Maybe he is. I don't know. And he's citing Brett Hall and stuff like that. Yeah, and Brett Hall was overlooked. And so he chose to play for USA. He had the option, and they overlooked him. And listen, Lane Hudson wouldn't be the first player to do that. But I think it's crazy that his dad, I mean, this guy's an NHL player. He's going to have another player in the family, his brother, who's going to become an NHL player, who's now playing at Boston University. I mean, for the dad to come out and speak publicly on this, I think you're going to scare USA Hockey. Um, I don't know if that's the right direction to take this or the smartest direction to take this. What are we doing here? I mean, come on. Could you imagine being a player and having your dad doing podcasts and talking? I kind of get it if it's Keith Tkachuk and people want to hear from him. You know, he played over 1,000 games in the league. He's a USA Hockey Hall of Famer, scored over 500 points, over 1,000 or 500 goals, over 1,000 points. He works in the NHL. Like, you would want to hear from Keith Tkachuk. I get that. Do we need to hear from Lane Hudson's dad about him essentially suggesting that playing for Canada is now an option for him? And I guess it is. Does it need to be made public? Do you have to threaten USA Hockey with it? Because I feel like he would say it's not a threat, but it kind of is. But anyway, going back to what I said on the Camera Strict podcast, I had heard that his dad was a problem. Now, specific instances, I wasn't sure. But at the U.S. program specifically, I've also heard from other people at BU, he was loud and a little bit of a problem. You don't want to be that guy for your kids. I don't care how old they are. And they could be 6 years old, 10 years old, 12 years old. We've seen plenty of youth hockey parents who become issues. If they're really, really good, I think sometimes you just tolerate it. And that's probably been the case with Lane Hudson. But for his dad to come out and say that, I thought it was a little odd, very, very strange. And it's probably not in his best interest to do that again. So hopefully we don't hear from Lane Hudson's dad anymore. But it just goes back to what I said in the Camera Strict podcast. I heard his dad was a problem at the U.S. program and at BU. And Cam was like, what does that mean? This is big time, his dad. Who cares? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, we're starting to see a glimpse of it now. Now it's out in the open. Now it's out in the public. Now we see it. So again, we don't need specific examples, I guess, when you kind of see it with your own eyes. And now his dad's coming out and doing podcasts and whatnot. I think he was sitting in his car talking on a podcast. So that's your news on the Hudson family. Milan Lucic, a lot of people are curious, is he going to make this team? And listen, I would think that it's a long shot when you look at the roster as it sits right now and you look at things on paper. But they did bring him in, and he has a relationship with Claude Julien that goes back to them, winning a Stanley Cup together. And he was a young player at the time. I don't get the sense that he and Julien were always on the same page or best of friends, but obviously some significant mutual respect between the player and the coach and the player in this specific situation. He had some other options. He chose St. Louis. He feels like there's a spot for him on this team. Now, if you just go based on the individuals who are here, and if you keep 14 forwards, I guess you could keep 15, but that would lead to you keeping only 7 defensemen. And we'll see if the Blues end up keeping 8 defensemen and how they want to go about it. But if we said 14 forwards, and if you look at the lines right now and you say it's Buchnevich, Thomas, Snuggerud, and listen, these could easily change even before camp and certainly will change during preseason and during the regular season. Line combinations rarely stay the same for more than a couple of games, if they even stay the same that long. They change from period to period and shift to shift. So again, Buchnevich, Thomas, Snuggerud, Holloway, we'll say Pius Suter, could be Shen, Kyrou. So that's your top 6. Neighbors, Shen. Do you move Sundqvist to the wing? That's your top 9. Walker, Bukestad, Toropchenko. That's 12 forwards. We haven't gotten to Texier, who could be your third line right winger, and Sundqvist could be on the outside looking in. We haven't gotten to Matthew Joseph, who could be your third line winger. The other guys I mentioned could be on the outside looking in, but that's 14 forwards right now when you include Matthew Joseph and Texier. And I like both those guys, man. I think they both bring something to the table, but the consistency was an issue. You just didn't really know what you were going to get from game to game. But when they were both on their game, they both found a way to have an impact. And I like Texier. He brings some skill. I always say, if you come watch practice, you would be like, well, who's this guy? Because he's so skilled, man. He is very skilled. And, probably the same thing with Matthew Joseph, just because his skating pops when you're watching a practice. This guy can absolutely fly. But again, the inconsistency was there with both of these guys. And that's what leads to these guys coming in the lineup and out of the lineup. Texier was going through some stuff as well, which forced him to not become or not be available to the coaching staff. So, you just don't know what you're going to get sometimes. So anyway, that's why I had those two guys on the outside looking in right now. And you hear, the way Jim Montgomery talks about Sundqvist, I just feel like he wants him in the lineup and he kills penalties and does some other things. And Joseph can kill penalties too and can do a pretty good job at that. And we haven't even gotten into like a Dvorsky, for example. Can he push to make the team out of camp? Or Kazimaki, can he push to make the team out of camp? Any of these guys. And I say Snuggerud on the top line with Thomas and Holloway. Listen, he's going to have to show that he belongs there and he can play there. I think the small sample size we had from him last year, everything was really positive, but it's not a guarantee by any means. But it takes me back to Milan Lucic. Can he make the team? He hasn't played since early 2023, 2024. Only played 4 games that season. Then he had, some off-ice issues that, led to him missing the rest of the season, then all of last season. He got reinstated, I believe in July. And again, a number of teams had interest, and he chose to come to St. Louis. Now, I hear he may be, exploring the real estate market around town. Or maybe he's just looking for a place to stay during camp. I don't know. But I know he's going to have some dinners coming up with management. And so I'm just looking at this. Yeah, we're not going to have Corey Schneider today. We just couldn't make the time work, which sucks. I really wanted to have him on, but listen, he's got to pick up his kids later in the day. We got different time zones. He wasn't available this morning. And when he was available, the studio wasn't available. So we can't have him on this particular edition of Hockey Sense. So we'll do that next week. We'll talk some goaltending with him. It won't be too late to have Corey Snyder on. So I look forward to that conversation. We'll do that next week. But Jamal Mayers will join us here in a couple of minutes. So Lucic, I know he's going to have some dinners with Doug Armstrong and also Jim Montgomery, and let's see where things are at. He's dropped some weight. He looks like he's in terrific shape, and I think that's what it comes down to. I don't think it's a matter of can he play. It's he's 37 years old. It's not like he just forgot how to play the game of hockey, but it's what kind of condition is he in? He looks to be in great shape, and can he keep up with the pace that's required in the National Hockey League? I think that is the number one question. So far, from what I understand, he's had a couple of skates here in St. Louis. He looks good. But the evaluation process really hasn't begun just yet. I think it can maybe set the table. It doesn't hurt if you look good. If you look terrible right now, that is not a good situation to walk into training camp having the coaches and whoever else feel like, hey, you're not there. You want them to believe that you can help the team. So, a completely different situation for him. I'm pulling for him. It's been a long time since he's had to come into training camp and make a team. I mean, he's always had a spot firmly supplanted on the team. I'd love to see him bring some physical intimidation to this roster that I think could use some. So, um, this guy, obviously, you know, certainly can still do that. He's fearless. And he's also sober, you know what I mean? Like, he's been through a lot personally. He got his family back together. It's back intact. He hasn't had a sip of alcohol in nearly 2 years. So, again, everything looks on the up and up for Milan Lucic. And what was most important, the guy's won a Stanley Cup. He's had a great career. He's been a 30-goal scorer. He's played over 1,100 career games. I think if you were to ask him what was most important was to get the home life and get the family life back to where he wanted it to be, and I think he's accomplished that. And, I think if you were to ask his wife the same thing, the way they speak about each other publicly truly leads you to believe that everything they've went through, the outcome has turned into a positive. And we are pulling for not just Milan, but the entire Lucic family. And I'd love to see him in a Blues sweater and see if he can help this team get back into the playoffs and then do some damage once they get there, because I think that's what it comes down to. Do some damage once you get there. Because I think this team is certainly capable of um, challenging for a top 3 spot. Am I crazy to think Colorado could take a step back? I mean, I just feel that way. I don't know how good the roster is, to be honest with you. So it's great when you look at the two-headed monster up top with Makar and McKinnon, and with just those 2 guys alone, they will get them to the playoffs. But is that the team the Blues are trying to push out? Is it Dallas? Is it Winnipeg? I don't know. I feel like Winnipeg, there's no reason to assume they shouldn't finish in the top 3. Most of their team is back. They lost Ehlers. Adam Lowry's gonna be hurt. They add Jonathan Toews. We'll see what that team looks like. Dallas, new coach. You would think with the talent they have in that roster, they have a firm seat among the top 3 in the Central Division. And where is Utah and some of these other teams? I just feel like St. Louis, the way they played down the stretch, if that's the team we see this season, they're going to finish in the top 3 in the Central Division. And they just came out with the goaltending rankings, by the way. It's great to see. Listen, sometimes this kills me. I want to get into this with Corey Schneider too, because last year I don't even know where they had Jordan Binnington. Was he even ranked last year? And now he's in the top 7. I thought he had a great year 2 years ago too, man. The team wasn't very good in front of him. They couldn't defend, and but more often than not, he was their best player. He goes from not being ranked, and now he's back in the top 7. He was sensational down the stretch. You look at his numbers at home. You look at his numbers overall over the course of his last 15 starts or so. You look at the way that he performed in the world, or in the 4 nations. People truly took notice. But I said this going into last year. I didn't feel like many teams, if any, had a better 1-2 punch at the goaltending position than the Blues. And, I feel that way once again heading into this year with Joel Hofer and Jordan Binnington. I feel like these guys, as a combo, are as good as you're going to find in the National Hockey League. So what are you most looking forward to seeing? I hear Bukestad looks good too, man. He's an absolute monster. Pius Suter, it'll be interesting to see who's that number 2 center. I would imagine it's going to be him. That's what they signed him for. Shen can certainly do the job, but that could be a rotating situation between he and Shen. Shen could also play the wing. We just don't know how it's all going to play out. And especially if Dvorsky comes in and plays unbelievable in preseason and in training camp, then there's a good chance that all of a sudden that could force Shen to the wing if Dvorsky's able to stick on this team. I'm not ruling anything out, but obviously it looks like it's going to be a challenge just based on the numbers. But I'll finish with this before we get to Jamal Mayers. I don't think ownership and certainly management is afraid to put one-way contracts in the minors. You know, I think they um, are only focused on putting the best team on the ice when the season begins. And if that means somebody who's making $2 million ends up playing in the American League or ends up going on waivers and playing elsewhere, then so be it. I think that's the way they look at it. They're not just going to keep a player on the roster if it means sending a player down to the American League that would make the team better here if he was on the team. So we'll see how that plays out. Jamal Mayer's coming up. So much to get into. Cross Country Mortgage, man. We love our friends over there at Cross Country. Mark Cooper, 314-713-4377. Give him a call today. You know, I talk about how they have that first responders program where if you're critically injured or even lose your life in the line of duty, they'll cover your mortgage up to $525,000, which is just absolutely insane when you think about it. They've got these programs for doctors where they have loans for doctors up to $1 million with zero down and no PMI. I mean, it's amazing. They service every loan. Basically, every loan they service, they close. And they can close loans in all 50 states. So if you're listening anywhere in the country right now or watching anywhere in the country, you can call Mark Cooper and he'll get you pre-approved and do all of that. Just call him, have a conversation with him, 314-713-4377. But check this out, because this is something new, and I want to get this out here. Rates have hit a 12-month low. Did you know that? I mean, rates are at their lowest point than anywhere they've been in the last calendar year. And they're now offering 15-year loans in the fives. You didn't think that was going to come back anytime soon, did you? So 15-year loans in the fives, 30-year loans in the low to mid sixes. And that's still a really, really good rate. So right now, if you mention the podcast, mention the Camister, not mention the Camister. I guess you can. He'll probably count that too, but just mention Andy Strickland in Hockey Sense. They're waiving all lender and appraisal fees. A $2,000 savings on a refinance. So you'll save $2,000 just by mentioning my name when you call Mark Cooper at 314-713-4377. Call him today, get pre-approved, get that refinance going, and save some money. $2,000 worth. Are you kidding me? Cross Country Mortgage, Mark Cooper, the best in the business. This guy's been the leader in the mortgage business for like decades. He is truly among the best. If I mention his name to other lenders and other mortgage people, they're like, oh yeah, he's the real deal, and he has been for a long time. Nobody does it better. I mean, you talk about like a guy like Sidney Crosby who averages over a point per game his entire career, every single season. Mark Cooper would average over a point per game. If doing mortgages was a sport, this guy would be an MVP. Hart Trophy winner. So $2,000 in savings just by mentioning my name, 314-713-4377. And take advantage of these loans that have hit the lowest they've been in the last 12 months. Jamal Mayer is coming up next. Don't go anywhere. Welcome in, Jammer.
What's up, bud?
What's going on?
Excited. We're getting close. When's training camp?
Well, they have the prospect camp starting up next week, so looking forward to that. And, you know, I always look forward to the prospect camp, too, because it kind of like kicks off the NHL season. It's right before main camp, and it's an opportunity for some of these young guys to set the tone for themselves as they head into main camp, you know?
Absolutely. It's where several players have shown themselves well there and getting an invite to main camp unexpectedly. And next thing you know, they make the decision.
And it's not just the NHL roster, too. There's guys that make an impression, and, you know, and it leads to them end up having a long professional career even in the American League. You know what I mean?
I think this is the way I look at it, and what I would tell young players is that every organization has a plan for you.
Mm-hmm.
Your job is to change that plan, either expedite the plan or change their view of you.
Yeah.
And that's what training camp is for.
How did the NHL and the American League guys coexist in training camp? You know, because I know my personality, I would never feel comfortable, even if you're Chris Pronger, I guess, you know, maybe you do. But my personality would never allow me to feel comfortable when somebody's trying to take your job and is coming after your job. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So do guys talk amongst one another? Do they interact? Are they nice to the guys that are trying to take their job? Like, what's the environment like in camp?
Yeah, I mean, there's 2 parts to it. I mean, I like to think I was nicer to the younger guys, and by the same token, was very focused that they weren't gonna take my job. I think that every training camp for me was just that, uh, a battle and a, reproving yourself that they're not gonna take your job. I think that it's something that, quite frankly, I joked around with a guy like Ryan Johnson, because every training camp, they'd have the team would have this shiny new toy they're excited about seeing,
Mhm.
and we would always chuckle like, "Not this year, bud. It's not happening." And I think that's what
So you
veterans
2 guys were just, "Hey, we're not letting this guy take our."
that's not happening. Yeah, they're not ready.
Who was a shiny toy? Was there any?
There's always everyone.
Okay.
Like the kid that came from Denver,
Peter Sanya?
Sanya was like, "Oh,
Colorado
this yeah,
College, yeah,
yeah,
whatever.
okay, yeah, that's not happening."
And they gave him like $1,000,000.
Okay, but I'm just telling you, there was an example like that every year.
Did you know right off the bat, like, he wasn't gonna be a.
I didn't like his skating. I knew that it didn't matter if he could shoot the puck, if he can't get open,
Mhm.
and he wasn't like super like crafty.
Mhm.
He just had an unbelievable shot, but could never get it off.
Who's the best player you saw that really wasn't a great skater, but just could overcome it?
That's a great question. I'll have to think about that.
Yeah, because they're out there
Yeah, they're just a
all
smart
over the
player.
place.
Pavel Pavelski,
Mm,
Joe
he's a
Pavelski's
great
at
one,
the
yeah.
top of the list. You know,
And how would you describe his skating? What was he deficient at? Just the speed, the
mm,
explosiveness?
explosiveness, stride length, ability to escape, quickness, but he had super brain. Knew when to get there.
How can, someone be so much how can that make up the difference just by being smarter? Because I think a lot of the viewers and listeners can't understand that because they think, "Hey, listen, you're getting to the NHL level, like, everyone is smart," but I guess that's not the case, right?
It's not. I think he was crafty and knew when to arrive and where to get it and how to give and go and
Mhm.
when to protect it. Wasn't a big guy, but um, the probably the best net front for his size that I've ever seen.
Okay, and it's not just is it just the deflecting pucks and, it's gotta be more than that, right?
I think it has a lot to do with timing.
Mhm.
You see a lot of smaller players that have success at the net. It's because they know when to get there. And the other part for me was that I learned from him at an older age. I was 35 when I played with him in San Jose and watched him and asked him questions. He doesn't stay in front of the net. He travels. If you draw a string from the defenseman at the blue line to the net front, he always travels along that line. And if he has to go toward the defenseman to get away from a check, he can still deflect it
Mm.
at the top of the circles,
Right,
and it'll
he can do a high tip too.
yeah. So he just was really crafty at getting to those places, and then had unbelievable hand-eye coordination.
Incredible. Among the best we've
Best
ever
I've seen.
seen. It's interesting because they always do the list of, like, the slowest players in the league and whatever,
Yeah,
and a lot of these guys are really, like, some of the best players in the game, like Matthew Tkachuk, like, he doesn't like, his acceleration or top speed has gone down, like, by, like, 1% every year he's been in the league,
right.
and he was hurt last year, so it's kinda, unfair to kinda look at that after the 4 Nations and whatnot. Pat Maroon's another guy who never really played with any pace,
No.
but you can't overcome it, is what you're saying.
Well, you have to have great hands, which
And
every example of a guy like that, like
Kachuk's the best net front guy in the league today.
yeah, and, who's the guy that in my era, beginning of my era, that was I don't know, he's a Hall of Famer. I'm feel embarrassed, I don't remember his name. Played for Buffalo for years and then played
Andrechuk?
Andrew Chuck. Very similar, like, he's a better skater than him, but
Yeah.
the idea is great hands, awareness of when to get to the net, below the hash marks, all those examples you're giving of guys who weren't fleet of foot, understood the game in areas and had the
Mhm.
ability to finish in tight, but knew, how and when to arrive and had very good wall skills.
Yeah.
How to protect it, how to pick it up, backhand, forehand. You look at Matthew's stick. His stick is as ugly as it is for a reason. It's thick at the heel. He probably doesn't shoot the puck as well as Brady, but it's a different stick for a
Mhm.
different set of skills. His is more about deflecting pucks, holding on the pucks, and passing. and his goals are scored within 4 feet of the net.
Yeah, most of them, and you're fearless, right? And if you're gonna play in that area of the ice, you gotta be fearless too.
Less important to be fearless now. I mean, it was different,
It's a little different.
different 15, 20 years ago.
Yeah, yeah.
You literally were getting a cross check in the mouth just getting to the net. So,
You think Patrick Kane will make Team USA?
absolutely.
You do?
Yeah. I mean, the suggestion that he's declined is ridiculous. He's had a point a game last year.
Last
Pace.
45, 43 games, I think he finished with 45 points, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, he can help you on the power play. Doesn't mean he has to play.
He has to play
a
the
ma-
power play, right?
Yeah, he's still
Patrick
one of
Kane,
the best
right?
in the power play.
Yeah. If you're keeping him, what I'm saying is, if you're keeping him, it's because he's
He's on the power play.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has. You're not keeping him to be a checker.
no. Well, no, I'm just saying, they're all great players, right?
Yeah,
On Team USA, we're talking
I
all
think
these
he
guys are
bumps up-
power
I
play
think he
guys.
bumps another great player off the power.
There's no checkers on the team. You know what I mean? But like everyone's gonna have their roles. But that's the biggest question going around right now. If you look at their power play unit, I mean, he's gonna have to push off a elite NHL All-Star.
Yeah.
You know?
He will.
And I'd like to see him on there, but I don't think he belongs on just based on his legacy name alone. I think he still has to show that ability to play. Like the difference is Crosby still puts up a point per game every year, still can play at a elite level. Ovechkin still scores 40, 50 goals a game, even though Russia's not included. So I think the first half, he's going to have to show that he can still do that. His pace of play probably isn't where it once was, but if he can play the first half this year the way that he did after Tom McClellan came in and they made the coaching change, then I think it's going to be hard to keep him off, especially with the 2 extra spots.
He's aware of where he is. He's aware of what this year, the start of the year, means for him personally. Doesn't need anybody to tell him what's at stake.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to get the best of him if he stays healthy. That you'll see, he will be playing his best, knowing that there's people making that decision.
Yeah. And I hope he's on there. And I think Billy G probably looks at things in a similar fashion. It'd be great to have him around this next group of players anyway, who are going to be the future of USA hockey. How do you look at McDavid's contract? I don't see him wanting to sign a 8-year deal. It just doesn't sound like he's going to want to do that. So I guess if he wants to come in at 4 or 5 years, then you just have to oblige if you're the team, correct?
Yeah, I think that he's in a wait and see type of situation. I think that even 14 or whatever the number is, north of 12 times 4 is still never have to work, life-changing, generational type of money. So I think that it'd be wise for him to do shorter. It's not like he needs the security, not like he needs to like the long-term deal.
Yeah, yeah. Well, he'll make millions of dollars the rest of his life just by being Connor McDavid.
Yeah, I don't think it's about that.
No.
And I think that he's well aware where he is as a player, and for him, it's about winning. And so, he wants to make sure Stan Bowman's doing the right things to get that team in the right way and make the changes. Which have they made the necessary changes? I don't know. We'll see.
Well, they're still deficient, maybe in this, and they have to get deeper offensively, and they have to figure out who their goaltender is, right?
Yeah, it's still.
But I don't see him leaving now. I thought maybe he's got 1 year left in his deal. I do think, from what I understand, he will sign a 4-year deal. It's going to be somewhere in that $16 million range. But again, he can take up to 20% of the cap, and I don't think he's looking to do that and just eat up all the money either.
That's $64 million. I know you're not good at math.
Nah, you just proved that earlier. So that's a pretty good payday, right?
Yeah.
And I think he would be 32 or something like that at the end of it and go hit another home run.
Absolutely.
Like he'll be, with his skating and the way he plays, he'll be a great 38, 39-year-old, right? 40-year-old.
Absolutely. Like his generation's version of Mike Modano. He didn't really slow down.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Kane's about to pass Modano for the most points or whatever all time for an American-born player.
That's awesome.
What do you think that means to him?
It means a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I think that early on in his career, I think it was talked about a lot that he's the best American player. And I think for him, it wasn't about that. But now that he's close it kind of will start to feel more like that. And so it's a testament to his what's most impressive for me watching him and being around him on a daily basis is the lack of content. Like,
Mhm.
honestly, like, as a fourth line guy, 37 years old, 38 years old, I couldn't get off the ice until he was off the ice, and there's days where I'm just like, "Just please get off the ice, like,
Mhm.
what are we doing?" And that's just how he's I don't think he gets enough. I always say this, people always think that Taser was so driven, so focused, which he was, but he was also fun, great guy to be around.
Uh-huh.
Just the same, everyone thought that Keenan was just this
Happy-go-lucky.
happy-go-lucky, love the game, no, no. He was unbelievably
Dialed.
serious and dialed in to getting better and working on his craft.
Lane Hudson, and I said this on the podcast this past week because everyone was going crazy because he didn't get invited to the USA orientation camp, and on the surface, it makes no sense. Like, I know we're good now, like, USA hockey is really good, but, like, the Calder Trophy winner can't go to the orientation camp, you know what I mean? I just didn't make any sense. So I do my own research, and I find out, like, I hear his dad is a little bit of a problem, which is, like, shocking for we're talking about an NHL player that a dad would create any type of issues or maybe has in the past with USA Hockey or whatever. So I say that on the podcast, and like Cam really had a hard time with it. He said, "Well, this is like big time hockey. How could his dad like?" I'm like, I don't know. I'm just telling you. Like, I hear his dad's a little bit of a problem, and I don't have specific examples, but I confirmed it with people at BU, confirmed it with people with the program, like US program, that there were some issues there. So and he didn't go to the world championships, and maybe he was, like, banged up and stuff like that. So, he doesn't get invited. Now his dad comes out. Did you see his comments from his
Mm.
dad? His dad comes out, does a podcast. This is after I say this about his dad. And his dad comes out and says, essentially threatens USA Hockey to say he could also go play for Canada. Like, we're also Canadian. Now, I don't know what the rule is because he did represent USA
When
in the World Juniors and stuff.
he could still play for men.
He could.
You can't you can play if you have dual citizenship. Once you play for a men's level,
So it's
you have
junior,
to
yeah.
stay on that team.
Yeah,
But
okay.
if it's junior, then you can
You can
switch.
say so. And he must have known the rules, and he wouldn't have said that unless he knew the rules. So I didn't doubt that part of it. But I mean, for him to come out and essentially say that, it it's just a little bit aggressive, to suggest that he would just go play for Canada. Now, um, just like you've got Quinn Hughes kind of in the way for USA, you've got a guy named Cale Makar who's in the way on Canada. I would just be a little bit patient. You never know if injuries are gonna take place. He's a young player. He's played 1 year in the league. He would most likely be a big part of USA Hockey moving forward. So when you hear a dad at the NHL level come out and say something like that, what are your initial thoughts?
That's the landscape we live in now. That's one thing I think that they have more influence, than they should. It's a different landscape. I will assure you of this, that he's not going to intimidate or force the hand of Billy Guerin and his staff. In fact, it may do the opposite.
Backfire.
And so, I think that at a certain point, as difficult as it is for Lane, he's gonna have to stand up to his dad and tell him that I appreciate everything that you've done. I definitely use you as counsel and a sounding board, but I don't need you on the front page. I don't need you in the front. I want you
Creating
I want you
headlines.
just to be my dad. And
That make things harder
yeah,
on me, right?
you're giving the perception, although it comes from the right place, that you know I'm unhappy. Which if I am, then it stays between us, and no one needs to know. There's enough people out there in my defense questioning why I wasn't, and that's enough for me.
I think the first part of what his dad said, there's nothing wrong with that by saying he was disappointed that but, he's like, "I don't know
To the
what."
extent,
He's like, "I don't know what Billy Guerin's thinking. I don't know what they." He starts and he's like, "Just so you know, he's also Canadian," like,
yeah,
you
I
know.
don't think that was a good decision on his part. I think first of all, your parents should not be on podcasts. That's my opinion. There's
No.
no reason for them to be
I
on
did
podcasts
say earlier on the show that
unless they're talking about their development and all the way up until the time they got drafted.
I did say earlier on the show, I mean, if your dad played 1,000 games in the league and there's a reason for him to be talking, he works in the league, and he's a Hall of Fame. the situations can be different.
Yes.
Keith Kachuk's talked about Brady. He's talked about Matthew, but,
Different.
and he did go off on the Florida Panthers. I called him executive of the year that year because he went on a Toronto radio station and blasted Florida for being soft. Remember? What I'm
Yeah.
saying? But he wasn't saying my kid deserves this or that or should be playing with this guy or that guy or belongs, I just think he made it more about the team. But again, very few people can get away with that. And he's in the very small minority who can do that.
Yeah, because of his resume.
Correct.
Yeah. So it's just, I don't think that was a good decision.
No. And if the reason why he wasn't invited because there were some previous issues and now your dad's coming on talking, this just probably adds fuel to the fire from that standpoint. So yeah, so there's the lesson learned. Just sometimes it's best to stay quiet. Do you get a lot of calls when you're coaching, when you were the head coach? Are you getting calls all the time?
Not really.
And how do you view calls and what do you want to hear? Like what do you not want to hear?
Well, I don't want to hear from you the day after a
The
game.
24-hour.
There's some truth to that. I think it's important to take a step back and be a little bit more calculated and thoughtful in what you want to talk to the coach about. And I got good advice from Basil McRae a year or two ago, and he said, the every parent just loves their kid. And so as a coach, I always try to keep that in mind when they're like complaining or they're upset about something or they're talking to you about something. It's coming from a place where they really genuinely just love their kid. And sometimes they say and do things that may hurt that relationship, but may do things. But as a coach, I try to keep that in mind, that they're 12, 13 years old and that the parent just might be a little bit offside. They probably shouldn't be having this conversation. But you have to do it as a coach and you want to be able to listen to them and have an answer for them. And the reality is they might not like the answer. And, it's a different level of hockey. We're not playing other parents pay a lot of money. There's an expectation of, in my opinion, the ice time is not going to be equal. This is not A or double A or single A. This is triple A hockey. And that's the nature of the beast. And I think that pushing that envelope for all the players to have accountability and also a carrot for doing things well, that they get more, it helps the build a good competitive environment. And part of that environment is winning.
Yeah.
Part of the learning is winning. So, getting them to understand that takes time, especially if they're not used to, whether it doesn't matter sport, like if they just their first foray into high level athletics, sometimes you just got to help them understand.
All right, couple things for you. Dress code for NHL players. I think they're even going to reduce it even heading for this year. Do you have a problem with that whatsoever?
No, if I was a GM, it would have been gone a long time ago, especially at home. I think you can do a lot of things marketing wise with your players, letting them come in with their own style and getting to show some more of their personality. I think is fine with me. My own silly rule would be no baseball hats backwards. Everything else would be fair game. You can wear a baseball hat, just don't wear it backwards. But other than that,
You sound like Andy Murray.
I just think
I know
it starts to get a little bit ridiculous.
Correct.
If you but hats fine. Like I literally think it would be cool to watch. You kind of as a fan, you get to know, okay, this is his style. This is what he likes. Some guys might stay in the suit, and that's just the way they like to do it. Some guys are just like, I'm coming in with casual. Casual. I don't really care. I just want you to play your best. But on the road, I would be a little bit more structured and not necessarily ties and stuff like that, but it'd definitely be more dressed up.
What about the plane?
Depends on when the schedule and whatever like that.
I've never understood suits on the plane.
Well, you're just gonna take it off anyway.
I know.
And so
what's the point?
Well, I don't know if you've seen European soccer teams travel. They're pretty much very uniform.
Okay.
So let's say they all have a blazer with a crest, team crest, and gray slacks.
Okay.
With a white shirt. I think that looks sharp.
Yeah, that's cool.
So you give them 3 different choices.
Track suits, whatever.
Yeah, something as long as it's uniform. I think that's probably the most important thing.
Having the NHL season apparently next year starting in late September versus early to mid-October, having the Stanley Cup be awarded sooner in June versus late June. Your thoughts on that?
It's a great idea.
You do,
I
you
think
think? Yeah, okay.
I think it's getting it back in order, and it kinda got away from the league, in my opinion.
Why, was it late September when you were playing?
No, I think it was early October. Late September was like we were done. Season started always first week of October.
Okay, yeah,
Now we're into the second end of this. You know, what I mean, it's
yeah,
kinda somehow moved 10 to 14 days.
yeah.
I think getting it back in line will
Mhm.
be better for the
You'll
game.
be competing with the NFL, but, the hockey fans will be there. They'll be there
They'll
for it.
be there, and there's excitement that inherently happens. I think you shouldn't be as afraid of that. I think fans are more sophisticated than and they realize that they can do
Mhm.
2 things at once. They can be an NFL fan for the start, and they can also be a NHL fan.
Alright, some NHL franchises have created dynasties over, like, circumventing the cap,
Mhm.
having injured players sitting on long-term IR, and then all of a sudden they make a miracle recovery once the playoffs begin. They go out and add at the trade deadline, get an expensive player, they bring him into the trade deadline, now they have that player, and now they're going into, the playoffs with, like, a $120 million payroll. Chicago's done it
Yeah.
with Patrick Kane. Tampa's done it. I mean, they have been guilty of it for years and years and years. That's going away. You like that rule.
Yeah, I do, but no team plans to have their better players injured.
But do they
Like,
keep him out longer knowing, hey, we can't fit him in under the cap right now? Maybe he's ready to go a week before the playoffs and let's just wait.
well, I don't think it's a circumvention. I think it's smart management.
Mhm.
And if you wanna every system's gonna have loopholes, and I think if you're closing a loophole that doesn't allow you to do that, that's fine.
Mhm.
I think that's just really good managers figuring out a way to maximize their ability to win the Stanley Cup, and I think that
And owners willing to spend
and
to
that's
win,
yeah,
right?
that's I think you change the rule, and then they'll follow the rule, and it will
Mhm.
be closed. I don't think it's that.
There is an advantage though.
Yeah, absolutely, but no one plans for their better players to be injured.
But are they injured? I think is the fans' question. You know what I'm saying? Are they healthy enough to return and they don't because of
Well, the other way you could have gone is have an independent, um, doctor make an evaluation or determination, and give them a window, and say, "Listen, this is the window
Mhm.
when that injury should be healed,"
Right.
and say, "If it's outside that window, then you're circumventing."
Yeah, okay. You just make it easy.
I mean, there's a couple ways you could have done it.
Okay. Last thing for you, Milan Lucic, will he make this team?
No, he won't. That's my determination.
He'll be on the Camera Strip podcast on Tuesday, though.
But he's an older guy.
Yeah,
I played till I was 38,
yeah.
and,
I'm hoping. I'm pulling for him.
pulling for him to, he's kinda got his stuff back in order, and
Yeah,
I like that he's gotten a second
yeah,
chance, and we'll see.
yeah. People will love that conversation. All right, who brings you on Hockey Sense each and every week, Jamal?
Well, no question, it's Bartolino's. They got 5 restaurants, Bartolino's South, Bartolino's Austria, Chris's Pancake and Dining. Chris is at the Dock at Bartolino's Twin Oaks, which is my favorite right now, not just because it's the newest one, but great atmosphere. Forge many lasting relationships with their customers, their family motto. Cook good food, serve plenty, 50 plus years in business, only 2 places to dine at home or at one of Bartolino's family of restaurants. And you know what? If your car has a flat tire, you know where I'm going.
Dobbs, baby.
My buddy Dobbs, that's what they'll do. You know what I love about them? It doesn't matter when it is. They will get your car in, up, fixed, and out the same day. They'll diagnose what the issue is. They'll fix it. Doesn't matter if it's just, they do more than tires.
Mm-hmm.
You go there, you need things done. You need an oil change. You need your windshield replaced. You need something seriously wrong with your car. They're trusted. They're family owned. Over 42 plus locations all around this area. Great people that do things right, that make you feel, that honest with you, that stay within your budget. They'll make sure they take care of your car. It doesn't matter if who it is that needs it done. That's what you love about a company like that that's been around for years and it's locally owned.
There we go. I love it.
And I've got one more.
I know. Tell us about the spa place.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. I'm really excited about sponsoring with Angie Hess and their company, Spas and More, STL. It's a local company in Fenton, and pretty excited about it. They're gonna, you think about what they can do in regard to hot tubs, cold tubs, saunas,
Mm.
all the wellness elements that everyone should be considering in their house. They will take care of you. And the fact that they're St. Louis owned, St. Louis people, huge Blues fans, I'm going to have a much better script than this going forward, but they are our newest sponsor. Really excited to have them on board.
Love it. Welcome. Welcome to the team. And keep recovered with, what's it called?
Spas and more.
Spas and
SDL.
more, baby. SDL. Angie, welcome aboard. Jamal, always great to see you.
Good to see you, buddy.
All right, hope you enjoyed that conversation with Jamal Maris. Listen, we couldn't make things happen with Corey Schneider. I wanted to talk some goaltending today. He's busy doing NHL Network stuff. I mean, they're taping. The studio's only available at certain times here at Half Coast Studios because everyone knows this is the best place to go when you want to record a podcast. So listen, you got to get in where you fit in. So we get that. So let's push back Corey Schneider. We'll talk some goaltending and get an idea. Hey, who's his guys for Team USA? How he looks at the Blues goaltending, who are his guys for Team Canada, all of that. We'll talk about his career a little bit, talk about the NHL Network top goaltender rankings that just came out. And you still have Hellebuck ranked number 1. I got to get his take on that. Vasilevsky 2. Get down to number 7. That's where you find Jordan Binnington. Hackett Security. Secure your home and do it today with Hackett Security. 314-432-4200. Find out why so many government agencies trust Hackett Security for their security. And listen, when I'm gone and traveling and whatnot, nobody secures my home. I feel good. I feel comfortable. I can go to sleep. I can put my head on the pillow. I can feel good at night because I know Hackett Security is watching over my family and my house. Get them hooked up with your house today. They've got the camera doorbells. They've got cameras that can surround your house. They've got all the type of security you're looking for. Motion detectors on the inside of the home. They secure your home. Trust me, they can do your business. They can do your residence. 314-432-4200. Of course, First Community brings us Hockey Sense each and every week. We talk about the foreign currency exchange. We talk about the Little Blues program. Make your savings work for you. If you got money sitting around in a savings account or a cookie jar or in your mattress, you know you should invest that. With as little as $500, you can open up a certificate of deposit and earn over 5%. Which is a really good rate in case you didn't know. And unlike most high-risk investments, your money's totally safe because it's guaranteed. If you don't want to tie up your money, you should consider a money management account if you don't want to tie it all up. But the more you invest, the higher the rate, and there's no monthly service charge. So the money's completely accessible to you. Ask about it, firstcommunity.com. We love our friends over at First Community, just like we do at Blue Note Roofing, 314-920-5713. Get in today and get that free estimate. You have storm damage, roofing, siding, gutters, soffit fascia. He'll talk hockey with you. I got to get my picks in for David Novak with Blue Note Roofing. I got to do that now because he's got the Survivor pool. Who do I pick for my Survivor for Week 1 in the National Football League? Did you see what happened last night, by the way? They're spitting on each other. I mean, the NFL's off to a great start, let me tell you. They're spitting on each other. I mean, Jalen Carter couldn't even last the first play of the year. I mean, you got to be kidding me. The NFL just got to be shaking their head like, this is terrible. It's a terrible look. And he's a star player, too. Get the Cowboys on national television to kick off the season, and that's how we begin. That's not good. That's not good at all. Anyway, Blue Note Roofing, man. David Novak will talk all sports with you. 314-920-5713. It's my boy. Does great work and has been doing it for a long time. Lordo's Diamonds. Get that special someone, something special in your life, right there in the heart of Ladue. 314-432-8008 for Lordo's Diamonds. No better place to get that engagement ring. And now's the time to start looking because Christmas is going to be here very, very soon. Some people like to pop the question around the holidays. It's a great time to do it. 314-432-8008 right there in the heart of Ladue next to Truffles. You can't miss it. Lordo's Diamonds, they've been around for 70 years. Find out why. And I'll tell you why, because Mike and Jimmy Lordo are the best in the business. Best customer service. You come in there with a $500 budget or a $500,000 budget. Listen, you're going to get treated exactly the same. Exactly the same. And I mean that. Great people, treat you with respect, best customer service. And customer service, yeah, it goes a long way, but you got to have the product too. And nobody has better products when it comes to jewelry. And a best selection, highest quality, all of that over there at Lordo's Diamonds. LordosDiamonds.com. You can check that out and do it today. Frontenac Detailing. Go see Jim today with Frontenac Detailing. Let him take care of your car. Burn holes, cracks in the windshield, whatever it is. He'll take care of your car. I mentioned my boy, Mark Cooper, and this incredible deal that he has going on right now. Mention Hockey Sense or mention Andy Strickland. You're going to save $2,000. $2,000 because they're going to waive all the lender and appraisal fees just by mentioning my name. How about that? I gotta put that on Instagram today. Just by mentioning my name, you're gonna save $2,000 savings on all your refinance loans. Now is the time to refinance. I talk about all the great plans and programs they have for first responders, covering their mortgages up to $525,000 if they're critically injured or even killed in the line of duty. I mean, they're gonna take care of you. They take care of doctors. I mean, up to $1 million with their loans, no costs that come with it. So again, man, they put their money where their mouth is. Now, 12-month or the loans are at their lowest that they've been in the last calendar year. They've never been lower in the last 12 months. So you can do loans, 15-year loans in the fives, 30-year loans in the sixes, low sixes. You got to be kidding me. Mark Cooper can do that. 314-713-4377. Cross Country Mortgage. Call him today. Save $2,000. Mention Andy Strickland, and you'll save money. No lender, no appraisal fees. Who wants to pay that anyway? Well, you won't when you mention my name, so it's that simple. All right, we appreciate Jamal Maris from coming in. Great hockey talk once again. Blues Prospect Camp gets going next week. They've got practices and games, and then the following week, baby, we kick it off. We've got NHL hockey, NHL training camps began, and preseason games right after that. So lots coming your way. We thank everybody. Aiden over here at Half Coast Studios, Alex and Maddie and everybody with the staff. And we've got some great stuff with you. All year long, we bring you Hockey Sense live from the Half Coast Studios. I'm Andy Strickland, reminding you to keep your head up and your stick on the ice. We'll do it again next week. Have a great weekend, everybody.